We are less than 2 hours away from the presidential debate happening in Cleveland tonight.
And joining us now with a preview is Matt Dupuis. He's a debate coach at Northern Illinois University. Thanks, Matt, for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I keep telling folks, my students are tired of listening to me, so I'll bend in with you.
Well, we're not tired of listening to you. We want to hear all about what you think we could look out for at the debate tonight. What are you expecting?
I think it's going to be an incredibly interesting debate tonight. I think the COVID complications that have forced a little bit of a more stripped down version of the debate is actually going to help for a more substantial, fruitful debate. A smaller audience will allow the moderator to control the debate a little bit more, as we saw in the 2016 election. There was a little bit more audience participation, which is traditionally discouraged in these debates. We won't even have to worry about that tonight. Moreover, the fact that we're switching from 3 moderators down to 1, and that moderator being Chris Wallace, I think we will see a very healthy debate where these 2 candidates will not be able to dodge questions like we see a lot of the time in these presidential debates. I'm very excited to see some actual heated conversation and some back and forth that actually puts both candidates in a position to defend their positions.
So, Matt, in terms of being a debate coach, how would you qualify when all is said and done? Who wins, who loses, based on body language, strength of arguments? How do you gauge all of that?
Wonderful question. And I think it comes down to a lot of individual basis. Different people are going to win the debate to different viewers. It comes down to however you as an individual citizen want to judge the debate, and whatever you answer is typically going to be correct. I would say we will see strong performances from both of them in different ways. Biden has been following a traditional debate prep structure, working with his campaign team and mock debates and bringing town hall formats to his campaign events. Trump has done a little bit of that as well, but he's sticking to his normal strategies. He's going to approach it very similar to how he did back in 2016. And I think we'll see the Biden campaign come out swinging with a lot more concrete policy proposals and platform position statements, whereas Trump's campaign will most likely try to undermine those things that Biden brings up tonight. In the end, I think it's going to come down to who can hold their own and who has the last word, which I think there's going to be a lot of talking over one another tonight.
Could this debate turn off supporters? Could Biden's performance turn off his supporters? Trump's performance turn out his performance? Or are debates just a part of entertainment? Are they really something to make the supporters decide or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I 100% understand that. And traditionally, these debates are billed as the way for the undecided voter to make their decision. In this election cycle, a lot of political pundits think that that population is much smaller. It might not be necessarily people deciding whether or not they are voting between Trump and Biden, as opposed to whether they're voting or not voting. I think tonight's going to be a big determinant in whether we see bigger turnouts at the polls moving forward. Yeah, I think that about sums it up.
So, Matt, one of the criticisms of Hillary Clinton in 2016 was that she was more or less too laid back, and she would roll her eyes and say, this guy more or less is just out there. He's way out there. As someone who, if you were coaching Joe Biden, you really can't take that tack this time around, can you?
You are 100% correct. And I would imagine that Biden's campaign has been drilling him very hard on the fact that you cannot treat Trump like he's a child. You cannot treat Trump like he is not a threat, because we saw that tactic did not work in the slightest in the 2016 election. That's why I really do believe the clash is going to be important tonight, and we will see both Biden go after Trump on a lot of these policy platforms, but also I imagine Trump is prepared to throw some punches of his own.
So it could be a rumble tonight, huh?
Oh, yeah.
With a smile.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
Appreciate it.